Hi Cancer, welcome back to the Astrology 33 channel. This is your February 2021 love reading. Thank you to those of you who've liked, viewed, shared, subscribed, and donated to the channel. I appreciate all of that. If you wanted to book a personal reading with me, just check out the description video for more details there. As far as what we have in front of us, this is what I call the bridge and the gap spread. And the way it works is the cards on the left side represent your energy toward the connection with your main love interest. Cards on the right side represent their energy toward the connection. And we'll look at the past energies, present energies, future energies. Once we get through all that, we'll actually pull some oracle cards for some additional insight. That's where the bridging the gap dynamic comes into play. And as far as the decks being used, on the left side we have the Lover's Path Tarot, and on the right side we have the Tarot Sexual Magic. Also keep in mind it's a general reading, so while I'm going to be referring to the cards on the left as your energy and the cards on the right as the other person's, if you feel like it's the other way around, then definitely trust your intuition there. Alright? So with all that out of the way, past energy on your side, we have the Ace of Arrows. So this is Ace of Swords energy, and usually to me with the aces I see them as ideas rather than actually taking action on something. So to me this could just be saying that you might have come to a sudden realization around this connection. Now, given that there's lightning in the background, could be saying that there might have been a bit of a stormy background around the situation. For some of you, especially if you watched this when we were physically in February, this might even be a realization you guys might have come to during that Leo full moon, since it's going to have all kinds of crazy aspects going with Uranus and whatnot. So could just be a sudden insight you had around the connection. Could be good or bad. We'll see as we go along. Past energy on their side, we have the wheel. So this is Jupiter energy here. And Jupiter was in your opposite sign for a while. Now it moved on into Aquarius, which is your 8th house. But this could just be saying that you might have saw this person who had multiple options at play, and maybe that's the realization you guys came to. For example, so let's say in a negative sense, maybe they gave you the impression that you were the only person that they were talking to, but maybe you might have come to the realization that, all right, well, maybe that wasn't the case. Or it could be the other way around, where maybe you saw in your mind, you were thinking, oh, they're probably talking to multiple people, found out that maybe they weren't. Could play out either way there. But yeah, either way, it looks like this person just might have a bit of a more open, sociable type of approach to things. Present position on your side, we have the Six of Cups. So this usually represents an energy of reconciliation. This is actually Scorpio energy too, which for you guys is your 5th house of romance, creativity. And what stands out to me with the artwork in this deck in particular is we see the 4 cups on one side of the water, and that makes me think of the 4 of cups energy, which is usually that guy, for example, in traditional tarot, sitting under a tree, looking like they're disappointed with what's being offered to them. And then on the other side of the water where those 2 people are, we see the 2 cups, right? So to me, it could just be saying that you guys might be leaving that 4 of cups energy behind if you have been disappointed around the situation, and actually going for what you want. Now, this definitely does align with the Mercury retrograde energy we'll be having in February, which could just be saying that you might be connecting with someone from your past, realizing that maybe you've been single for a while, weren't necessarily getting the types of offers you were hoping for, so you might go back to your past. All right. Present energy on their side, we have the Moon, and we have the Eight of Swords. So this is Gemini energy here. This usually is referred to as Pisces energy, but of course you guys are ruled by the moon as well. So really what I'm seeing with these 2 cards could just be saying that they actually might have had someone else in the picture. Now that could go a couple different ways. If you guys are coming back around, could just be saying that, maybe they're otherwise involved already, and they feel that draw to come back toward you. So if we look at the body language there, she's with that guy, but it looks like she's looking over her shoulder at that other figure over there. So that's one way I could see it playing out. But for others of you, it could just be saying to watch out for that either way, or it could just be saying that they might have another connection. Now, if we think about this in another sense too, this could just be saying that you coming back around might surprise them. So, for example, especially if it's been a long time since you left the scene, right, and then you reappear, it might just really catch them off guard that you do come back around. So, it might be that they generally do have interest in you, but they might just have not expected you to come back around. So, they might have just been exploring other options. All right. And The future energy, we had a few cards come up. We have oppression, which is the equivalent of the tower. Tradition, which is the equivalent of the Hierophant, which is Taurus energy. And awakening, which is the equivalent of the sun card, which is Leo energy. So such an interesting mixture here, because this tower card seems out of place compared to everything else we have going. So I can see this playing out a couple different ways. What stands out to me is she has her back turned on the stormy waters there, right? So it's like turning your back on volatile emotions. So that's what could have been going on with this connection in the past. Maybe when there was like a bit of a rough patch in the connection, maybe rather than actually face it head on, you might have just been inclined to, sweep it under the rug, or just not really talk about it, even though there was a lot of disappointment around the situation. But with this tower energy here, I feel like it's saying that you won't be able to avoid that anymore. So what's interesting here is then the two cards that follow that, because to me it kind of shows a split with cancers in this group. So it could just be saying for some of you, this tower moment where things need to be addressed between the two of you, and this could be around that Virgo full moon toward the end of February, because that's going to be making a supportive aspect with Uranus. So that could be where some communication might come through. But it could just be one of those things where, you guys might have to have a talk about some situations that, haven't been addressed previously. And that actually gets you guys on the course to a healthier connection in that regard. And that's where we see the awakening energy there, as far as that's going to be what snaps you out of that negative cycle. But for others of you, this could just be saying that if this was, which I picked up as a possibility for some of you anyway, if this was around someone else, them having someone else in the picture, this might actually be where you might find out that they are otherwise involved, and then waking up to that. But even so, it looks like it's going to be a positive thing if that's the case. So yeah, I could really see that playing out both ways, honestly. But I will say, though, even though this is the tower, which usually represents something sudden, I have a feeling that you guys will know which group you're in, though. So even though, you think of the tower as a sudden moment, I think, as I said that, some of you would resonate with that first storyline that, yeah, you know what, we did have some things we need to talk about. And then if that's the case, that could actually set this connection on a much better course. For others of you, I feel like if you've suspected something all along about them having another person in the picture, you might find out that that's definitely the case. All right, bottom of the deck on your side, also we have the 10 of arrows. So again, unfortunately, this is something I can see playing both ways there too, because if we look at the artwork here, we have 9 arrows, which to me is that 9 of swords energy, and then that single arrow by itself, which is the 10th one, which makes me think of more of the ace of arrows energy. So for some of you, this could represent finally getting these thoughts out of your head, right? And finally, having that talk that clears the air and then actually allows you to move forward. But for others of you, of course, it can be an ending. If you're finding out, okay, they definitely have someone else in the picture. Future energy on their side, we have the Empress, the Chariot, the Emperor, and the Devil. So in case you guys haven't noticed, they have a ton of major arcana energy on their side. So this definitely does look like it's a significant connection, at the very least for them, but possibly for you too, because that could be what these major arcanas are pointing to as well, which is saying that this is a huge karmic lesson to be learned here in this connection. But here's what I will say. For some of you, this looks like this person really does want to move the connection forward, because if we think about it, the Empress is that feminine energy. We see the Chariot, which represents forward movement, and it's in between the Empress and the Emperor. So you think about a true pair there, right? Empress, Emperor. But then the Devil card, again, becomes that tricky part. So it's like you both have a card that's a bit out of place and making this a really awesome reading, right? Like the Devil here, the Tower on your side. So for some of you, I could see this playing out a couple different ways. For some of you, this could just be saying that this person really genuinely does want to make that effort to make it work between the two of you. With the Chariot, the Chariot being in between the Empress and the Emperor looks like a really positive combination where they really are going to try to make that effort, do the right thing. But with the Devil, could just be saying that, there might be some old habits that they might have. that are hard to break, So it could just be that they could just be a bit non-committal in general, which could be what that wheel in the past is pointing to. But I do see that they'd actually put in a genuine effort if that's the case. And then for the other group of you, where like I was saying, you might find out that this person did have another person in the picture already. That could be what you're finding out there too. So it could just be, if that's the case, the devil in this point would point to more of a karmic connection where, something that you both needed to go through for different reasons, of course. But if that's the case, that's why we could see the Ten of Swords there and everything. And the bottom of the deck on their side, we have the World. So another major arcana card on their side. And this is a cycle of completions as well. So whichever way this does go, like I said, we've covered a couple of the different scenarios it could be. It really does look like this was a karmic fated thing to happen. So there's a lot of significance there. Obviously, for some of you, it's going to be easier than others, depending on which group you fall into. But this definitely looks like there's a lot of significance here. The good thing is, whether it plays out in an awesome way, I feel like that would be saying that you're not going to have to repeat these lessons again, given that you have the Ten of Arrows and you have the World card. And even for those of you, if this does represent a final split between you and this person, it looks like whatever lesson you needed to learn there is going to be integrated and you won't repeat that same type of lesson again too. So that's definitely a positive. All right, so let's see what we get from the Oracle cards. Maybe they could add some additional insight. First, we'll look at the Aqua Moonlight deck here and see if we get anything. I did pre-shuffle this deck, and what I'm going to be looking for is just some jumpers here. So first, unspoken messages from you to them, and then from them to you. And if we shuffle for a while without anything coming up, I'll just take that as a sign to move on to the next deck. But sometimes we could get additional messages here, which could be helpful. Almost had one there. Alright, nothing there, so next we'll see if we get any unspoken messages from them to you. Alright, nothing there either. So, lastly, we'll pull a card from the Wisdom of the Oracle deck. Here we're just looking for one. I did pre-shuffle this deck as well, though. And worst case, if I don't get one that comes up after shuffling for a bit, we'll just actually put the deck down and pull a random card, because I do like to wrap up with one of these. Alright, so yeah, I'll just put the deck down and we'll pull a card. So, give me a few seconds to tune in, we'll pull one. Alright. We have TikTok. There's the artwork, and the number is 30. So we'll see what that has to say. Okay, it says timelessness, divine timing, immeasurable time. The Oracle's message. When humans created time, everything changed and contracted. People have come to look at life in a linear way, imagining that the past is behind them and the future ahead of them. But what if that isn't true at all? What if everything, creativity, beauty, chaos, and order, were happening now in a glorious timelessness? You have all the time in the world to co-create the life you desire, so release your agenda. Let go of your need to shape each moment to your expectations, knowing that what is yours will never be withheld from you. Miracles are right here now and always show up when you need them, right on time. So, definitely a pretty good message there around timing. And, like I said, it looks like in the past there might have been a sudden realization around you with this person. It looks like you might be reconnecting with them in the present. And then, like we said, we covered how it could really go one of two ways in the future. But hopefully that resonated with you. And the relationship message says love, the fulfillment of desire, and even the body's reproductive cycles have their own timetable. Some things are preordained and cannot be coerced. Everything has its season, its divine and appropriate timing, especially when it comes to matters of the heart. Remember that you always have enough time for love, to find it, to nurture it, to give and receive it. Its clock is eternal and ticks according to the beating of your heart in perfect rhythm. Isn't that wonderful to know? Love is always right on time. All right, so another pretty positive message there, and that did actually bring to my mind as well that another way to look at the cards that they have in a future position on their side is there's definitely the possibility for pregnancy potential too. I do have to point that out, with the Empress and the Emperor, the chariot in between with the phallic symbol there, obviously the one there as well. So keep that in mind too. The Empress can definitely represent pregnancy energy sometimes. And we could think about that as well with the World card. So something to keep in mind there. But hopefully that resonated with you guys. We'll wrap up there and I'll see you all next month. All right, bye.